A simple woman begged for leftover food. Her rich boss secretly followed her. What he saw made him cry. In the heart of Chicago, beneath towering glass and steel, she walked out the back door like a shadow. No one noticed. No one ever did. But today, someone was watching. And what he'd see would haunt him forever. Before we move further, please ensure to like, share, and subscribe for heartwarming stories like this. Likewise, tell us where you are watching from in the comment below. The woman emerged quietly from the back of the gleaming tower on North Michigan Avenue. She clutched her coat close, head down, lips moving as if reciting a prayer only she could hear. Upstairs, the man who signed her paychecks leaned against a polished office window. He was everything she wasn't. Tailored, powerful, seen. But something about the way she left today made him pause. There was urgency in her gait, not fear, but burden. She didn't wait for the light to change. She just kept walking. She passed restaurants and coffee shops without stopping, until she reached a modest bakery nestled between banks. She entered without hesitation. "Do you have anything? Anything old? Leftover?" she asked the clerk, voice soft and cautious. The young man behind the counter raised a brow. She wasn't begging, just asking. Calm, almost apologetic. He disappeared for a moment and returned with a brown paper bag. Inside were crusty bread ends, a broken muffin, and one half-eaten roll. She took it with two hands, eyes full of relief. "Thank you. This means more than you know." Across the street, her boss sat in his car, stunned. He'd followed her only out of curiosity. It was supposed to be a 5-minute detour. But now, something clenched tight in his chest. This wasn't a side job. This wasn't a secret errand. This was survival. She walked away from the bakery, turning down side streets unfamiliar to him. Her pace was steady, her expression unreadable. She never touched the food. Just held it close. He followed, inching along curbs, headlights off. She passed gas stations, alleyways, quiet storefronts shuttered for the evening. Finally, she stopped at a small deli. She hesitated this time, not from fear, but fatigue. She straightened her shoulders and stepped inside. He parked again, staring after her. The rain fell harder now, but he didn't move. Couldn't. He replayed her words in his mind. Her expression. Her silence. How many nights had she done this? How many shifts ended with leftover food in a paper bag instead of dinner at a table? The deli door opened. She stepped out with another small bag, its contents steaming slightly. Her breath caught the light like smoke. She tucked both bags under her coat and turned east. She hadn't seen him, but he saw her. And what he saw was not weakness, but strength he couldn't begin to understand. He started the engine, staying back just far enough, because something told him. He was just beginning to see who she truly was, and what came next would rewrite everything he thought he knew. She walked as if the streets of Chicago belonged to her sorrow. Her pace was steady, unfaltering, not from comfort but necessity. The rain had lessened, but the wind hadn't. Her coat clung to her arms, wet and heavy, yet she clutched the small paper bag against her chest like it was the most important thing in the world. And perhaps it was. The bag held pieces, crusts, crumbs, and scraps no one else wanted. But she walked with the quiet dignity of someone carrying treasure. Behind her, weaving through back streets in a sleek black vehicle, her boss followed in silence. His world was made of marble lobbies and chauffeured cars. Her world, he was just beginning to see, was made of cracked sidewalks and forgotten storefronts. She paused at a modest grocery with flickering lights above the entrance. Her voice was quiet, her request practiced. "Do you have anything you're about to toss out?" The cashier didn't even look at her. A shake of the head. A shrug. She thanked him anyway. He watched her from down the block, shame blooming in his chest. He had seen her every weekday for years and never once wondered where she went after hours. At the next stop, a kind-eyed woman behind a bakery counter handed her a broken cookie and a bruised banana. She thanked her like it was a fresh meal on porcelain. There was no desperation in her tone, only restraint. No bitterness. No pleading. Only grace. He leaned forward, hand resting on the steering wheel, as if that would help him understand. She moved on. Each block carried a story he couldn't hear. Each rejection bruised something inside her, but she showed no trace of defeat. He, on the other hand, had never felt smaller. Watching from his comfort, untouched, privileged. His thoughts raced. Had she ever asked for help? No. Had she ever seemed anything but capable? Never. Yet here she was, asking strangers for their trash with a voice full of gratitude. She approached a small convenience store and exited minutes later with a half-eaten sandwich, wrapped loosely in napkin. He saw her smile at the cashier. A real smile. As if the soggy sandwich was worth more than his entire tailored wardrobe. That moment shattered something inside him. The suit he wore felt tighter now. His hands, warm on the steering wheel, felt unearned. The leather of the car seat no longer comforted him. It suffocated. He thought of every time he'd passed her in the hall with a nod that didn't reach his eyes. Of how he had praised her silence as professionalism when really it was survival. And still, she kept walking. Store after store. Rejection after rejection. A piece of bread here. A soft apple there. No one followed her but him, and even he didn't fully know why. Guilt twisted into something unfamiliar. Reverence, maybe. Awe. Because while he lived in abundance and never noticed its excess, she lived in scarcity and never complained of its weight. He watched her pause beneath a rusted awning to check the contents of the bag. Her fingers brushed a wet napkin, and still, she smiled. A quiet smile. He couldn't look away. But what he didn't know, what she never revealed, was where those scraps were going, or who was waiting. And when he found out, it would break him completely. The building leaned with age, its bricks mottled with mildew and exhaustion. When she reached it, she paused only for a breath, then slipped inside. Across the street, her boss remained still in his luxury car, his hands tied around the steering wheel, watching the woman he thought he knew vanish into the shadow of a place that whispered of forgotten lives. The door creaked shut behind her. He waited, unsure of what he was waiting for, but unable to drive away. Minutes passed. Through a cracked second-story curtain, he noticed a dim flicker. Not electric light, no, it wavered like a flame. Candlelight. His stomach turned. Then, she reappeared. She carried a metal tray in both hands, balancing it with a practiced ease that told of routine. Even from this distance, he recognized the contents. Bits of bread, a split sandwich, bruised fruit carefully arranged to look like a meal. She set the tray on the floor of the hallway, then tapped gently on the apartment door. "Come out now, sweethearts," she called softly. The door creaked again, and one by one, they came. 5 children. Thin, wide-eyed, hesitant at first, then lighting up as they saw her. The smallest ran to her, arms wrapping around her waist. She laughed, tired but warm, and crouched to hug him. The others gathered around the tray, expressions lifting as she named each item like it was part of a royal feast. "Look, banana, almost fresh, a little bread, and a whole muffin. Can you believe it?" They smiled as they sat. No complaints, no comparisons, just gratitude, handed down like inheritance. From the car, the boss's world turned upside down. He'd seen her clean the break room at dawn, mop the marble floors in silence, take double shifts without flinching. But not once had he imagined children waiting for her. Not once had it crossed his mind that every step she took through his office was a step for survival. He had called her quiet, efficient, unremarkable. Now she was the strongest person he'd ever laid eyes on. The oldest girl tore her bread in half and handed a piece to her younger brother. "Mom, aren't you eating?" "I already ate," she lied gently. "You go on." They didn't question it. She watched them with a kind of quiet joy, as if the scraps were enough simply because they could share them, because they had each other, because they were still together. The man in the car felt something unravel in him. He wasn't supposed to feel this. He was the one with answers, control, clean endings. Yet here he was, breath held, watching a woman he had overlooked nourish 5 lives with leftovers and love. And just as he reached for the door handle, unsure of what he would say, a voice echoed from within the building. A man's voice. Low, tense, not hers. "Where is it?" the voice demanded. The woman froze. The children stilled. She stood slowly, instinctively shielding them behind her. The tray wobbled on the floor, forgotten. She didn't answer. And the man outside, frozen in his car, felt the shift. This wasn't just poverty. It was something else. Something dangerous. He leaned forward, eyes locked on the door. And just as he opened his car door, the hallway fell silent again. Too silent. She hadn't always been invisible. There was a time, not long ago, when her laughter filled a kitchen. When the home she shared with her husband echoed with music and bedtime stories and dreams stitched from hope. He had been a builder. A man who worked with his hands and believed in quiet mornings and second chances. Then came the storm. The phone call. The accident. She never forgot the way the world fell silent after the words he didn't make it. One moment, she was a wife with plans. The next, she was a widow with 5 children and a stack of unpaid bills taller than her youngest child. Grief did not wait for permission. Neither did rent. She had no family nearby, no one to lean on. So she leaned into work. The nights came first, cleaning grocery stores and diner kitchens after closing. Then came mornings. Offices, banks, the tower uptown where polished floors reflected lives she could never afford. She took what was left. Hours no one wanted. Tasks no one noticed. And she never complained. Not once. Now, in the present, as the sky deepened into a murky indigo and the city buzzed around him, her boss sat unmoving in his car across the street. The engine was off, but something inside him raced. He watched her through the cracked curtain, seated on the floor with her children. The tray of salvaged food had been picked clean. They didn't ask for more. They never did. She leaned over her youngest, a little boy with wide eyes and a hole at the elbow of his sweater. With careful hands, she tied a shoelace through the torn knit, stitching it closed with quiet determination. It wasn't perfect, but it would hold. And that was enough. The boss blinked hard. His chest ached in a way that had nothing to do with the cold. He'd passed her in the hallway 100 times. Never once did she ask for help. Never hinted at struggle. She was just the quiet one. Efficient. Invisible. How blind you been? He thought ambition was loud. That strength looked like confidence, press suits, and sharp voices in board meetings. But here she was, mending a sweater with a shoelace, holding together 5 lives with her hands and her silence. And somehow, he felt small. The kind of small that came when a truth you ignored suddenly stared you in the face. He rested his forehead against the steering wheel. Shame prickled hot beneath his skin. If this was what she did with so little, what had he ever done with so much? The image of her lingered. Her bent back, her steady hands, the smile she offered her children like it was their shield against the world. But then something shifted. Her expression changed. She turned her head sharply, eyes narrowing toward the front door. She stood. Not quickly. Not fearfully. Just alert. Her hand went to her child's shoulder and gently nudged him closer to his siblings. Her body tensed, still composed but ready. The man in the car sat up straighter, instinct tightening in his chest. Something wasn't right. He couldn't hear what she heard. But she heard something. And whatever it was coming. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above her as she entered the building, a ghost among the marble and glass. She was running on little sleep, but exhaustion had become a familiar companion. Her eyes were tired, her limbs sore, yet her composure remained. There was laundry to do, bills to juggle, children to dress and reassure before the school bell rang. Then here, this building, this job, this silence. "Good morning," she said softly to the receptionist as she passed the front desk. There was no reply, just the click of nails on a keyboard and the rhythmic hum of a nearby copier. She didn't pause. She had never needed attention to do her work, and she wasn't about to ask for it now. She made her way to the staff locker room, where walls held whispers of forgotten names and lockers clanged shut with weary regularity. Her own was tucked into the corner, bent at the hinge, scratched from years of wear. She opened it as she had done countless mornings before. And then she saw it. A single envelope, resting on the top shelf. Her name written in black ink. Neat. Deliberate. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for it. She unfolded the paper slowly. And everything stopped. Her eyes skimmed the lines once, then again. Her chest rose sharply, then stalled. A full academic scholarship for her children. A permanent promotion. A housing stipend. No applications. No interview. Just a gift. A recognition. A door opened. Signed at the bottom was the name she had only ever seen printed on plaques and high-level memos. Michael Carrington, CEO. Her knees weakened. She gripped the locker door for balance. The letter crinkled as her hands tightened around it. Her breath caught in her throat. It didn't feel real. She had spent years existing in the background, working when no one saw, staying late when everyone had gone home, asking for nothing because she knew there was nothing to ask for. Why now? Her heart raced with questions she couldn't answer. Gratitude surged in her chest, tangled with disbelief. Then a presence stirred behind her. She turned. And there he was, the man himself, the one whose signature had rewritten her future. He stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, eyes steady. They said nothing for a beat too long. Then he spoke. "You've done more with less than most people ever do." His voice was calm but resolute, not rehearsed. Just true. She couldn't speak. Her lips parted, but words failed her. She looked down at the letter again, as if to confirm it hadn't vanished. He stepped closer. It's time someone stood up for you. Tears welled, but didn't fall. She blinked them away, shaking her head softly. I don't understand. You weren't supposed to be sad. But it's time you did. She swallowed hard, eyes fixed on the paper. I've never been anything but a cleaner. He shook his head gently. No. You've been a provider. A fighter. A leader. Something shifted in her. Not pride. Not confidence. Something quieter. Like the beginning of belief. She folded the letter with trembling care and held it against her chest. Then, just as she looked up to thank him, her phone buzzed from her pocket. She pulled it out. A single text. Her face fell. He noticed instantly. What is it? She stared at the screen, breath gone. It's from the shelter, she whispered. They said. She stopped. The words stuck. And in that silence, everything began to unravel again. Whispers turned to words. Words turned to nods. Nods turned to greetings. The change was quiet but undeniable. At first, no one knew what to make of it. The cleaner. Her. Walking through the halls not with her eyes down, but lifted. Colleagues who once passed her without a glance now paused. Good morning, some said. How are the kids? Others added. She answered with a soft smile, never lingering, never showing more than she meant to. But they noticed. Everyone noticed. Her name, once forgotten, now passed from cubicle to cubicle with a different kind of weight. Some were inspired. Others ashamed. They had worked beside her for years and never asked her story. Now they were a part of it. The company issued her a fresh uniform. Navy blue, crisp, tailored to fit. Her schedule shifted, too. No more graveyard shifts. No more rushing out before sunrise. She was given time. Real time. To attend school plays, parent meetings, dentist appointments. She used every moment well. Each afternoon, she walked from the tower to the private academy where her children now studied in clean uniforms and full bellies. She'd wait at the gate with a paper bag of snacks she couldn't stop herself from packing. They ran to her, arms full of stories, cheeks full of joy. It was new, yes, but already it felt like theirs. And through it all, the man who made it happen said nothing. He watched from afar, never interfering, never expecting thanks. She noticed. She noticed it all. So one afternoon, when the day was quiet and her work done, she stepped into the elevator and pressed the button she'd never dared touch before. His office was polished, neat, and far too large for one man. She stood in the doorway for a breath longer than she meant to. When he looked up from his desk, his expression didn't surprise her. Calm. Waiting. As if he had known she'd come. I wanted to thank you, she said, stepping inside. For everything. He stood. You earned it. She hesitated. Her fingers tightened around the folded paper in her hand. A printout of the scholarship confirmation. But her voice was steady. I didn't ask for this because I didn't think I could, she said. But I need to say something clearly. He waited. I don't want favors, she said firmly. I want to earn it. All of it. He studied her for a moment, something flickering in his eyes. Respect, perhaps, or understanding. You already did, he replied. She nodded slowly. Then I'll keep earning it. He smiled. Not wide, but full of something sincere. I know you will. There was a pause. Not awkward. Just full. Then she turned to leave, letter still in hand. But as she reached the door, he spoke again. There's something you should know. She stopped, heart quickening. What is it? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked around his desk, stopping just short of where she stood. Someone else noticed you too, he said. She looked up. Who? But he only offered a small nod toward the folder on his desk. It's not just me anymore. Her brows drew together. What do you mean? He looked at her then, as more serious than before. You're going to get a call. Soon. And before she could press further, his phone rang. Time moved, but her purpose deepened. What began as survival had grown into something larger than her. The woman who once scrubbed floors in silence now moved through the building with quiet authority. Her badge read head of facility operations. But what she represented extended far beyond a title. She arrived early, stayed late, not because she had to, but because she wanted to leave a mark. And she did, in 1,000 small ways. She trained newcomers personally, not with barked orders, but with patience and warmth. She knew the fear of a first day, the weight of being overlooked, and she refused to let anyone feel it under her leadership. People gravitated toward her. Even those who had once ignored her now sought her opinion. The CEO often observed her from afar, never interfering, simply watching the ripple she left in her wake. That ripple soon became a tide. Inspired by her journey, he launched a company-wide welfare initiative, increased wages for entry-level staff, flexible hours, on-site childcare support. It carried her name without saying it aloud, but everyone knew where it came from. So when the annual employee recognition event approached, there was only one choice for keynote speaker: her. The invitation left her breathless. She had never spoken in front of a crowd. She wasn't eloquent, she told herself. She was a worker, a mother, someone who moved quietly, not someone who stood at podiums. But she said yes. The night of the event, she arrived early, heart pounding beneath her blouse. She stood backstage listening to the gentle hum of the crowd. Somewhere out there was the CEO. Somewhere out there were people who knew her story, and many who didn't. When her name was announced, she stepped forward slowly. Her palms were damp. Her voice was unsure at first. But then she looked out across the room and saw familiar faces, her co-workers, her staff, even her children sitting quietly in the back. And the words found her. "I didn't expect to be here," she began. "Not ever." The room stilled. "I was a cleaner, a widow, a mother of 5, working night shifts, walking miles to bring home leftover bread. For years, no one saw me, and I learned not to expect it." Her voice strengthened. "But then, someone did. They didn't offer a handout. They gave me something else." She paused. "They gave me dignity, a name, a chance." The air was heavy with emotion. "You don't need power to change someone's life," she continued. "You just need to see them, to believe they matter." A few heads in the crowd bowed. "We don't ask for much, just to be seen." Applause rose. Not loud, but deep and lasting. Some stood. Others wiped their eyes. On the side, the CEO looked away briefly, blinking fast. As she stepped down, her chest light, the room glowing with something unspoken, the lights dimmed. And on the screen behind her, white letters slowly formed. Real heroes wear no capes. Some carry bread in silence. The crowd quieted. The message sank into the room like a prayer. She exhaled. It was done. Or so she thought. Because as she turned to leave, a man in a gray suit approached her. Someone she didn't recognize. He extended a card and whispered, "There's someone who wants to meet you. It's urgent." She looked at the card. Her brows lifted. The name on it was one she hadn't seen in years. Her heart skipped. "Who sent you?" she asked quietly. The man only replied, "He says he's family." Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications. Share this video. Thank you.